Okay, everyone. Sorry about that upside down camera. It fell last time I used it and I didn't realize it was upside down. We are going to be doing the Panda cards today. We're going to be starting with the, this is papaya cardstock. So if you find your envelope with this one in it, and we're going to do a little bit of cutting out and a little bit of coloring, but they're relatively easy cards, so it should go pretty quick. So you'll need some markers or colored pencils to do the coloring and scissors to do the cutting if you don't have those ready. This is the stamp set we're using, the Cute Panda stamp set. It's got 7 little panda stamps and all the accessories to go with them. So we're doing 7 different cards, one for each panda in the stamp set. The striped paper, that's a good question. Let me look for you. It should not be available, but it might still, you know, sometimes it's not in the current product, current product line, but we may still have some available. Yes, there is still a bunch available. It's called Storybook. And there are still Picture My Life cards. There's paper packs. There's a workshop, several workshop kits. So there's a bunch of stuff available for it. If you just wanted a couple of pieces of paper, I may have enough to sell you a couple pieces of paper. So you can take a look on the website and see what they have and what you might be interested in. Again, it's called Storybook, is the collection that paper was in. Okay, so we're going to get started, and all of the pieces of cardstock are our standard size in this workshop, which is 4 by 11. So they're all going to get scored on the 11-inch side at 5.5. So this is the papaya color, and basically I used all the colors that were in this paper collection. So it makes for a really nice, colorful set of cards. And on this one, we are scoring on the darker side. So the darker side should be facing you. I'm going to score and burnish that. And then we're going to put down our striped paper on the left side of the card, align it with the left edge. And when I put down paper that's supposed to be the full length or width of the card, what I do is start at the folded edge. I line up the top edge with the folded edge. I have this curved or turned so I can see it easier. And then I, smooth it down to the bottom. And that's because if one of the pieces is not cut, if the two pieces are not cut to the same length and one is shorter than the other, you can trim it from the cut edge, but you can't trim it from the folded edge. In this case, it's the exact right length, so we don't have to worry about that. Then we have a thin piece of mist paper, and we're going to use the darker side. This is only 1/4 of an inch wide, so I'm going to go ahead and use my 1/8 inch tape. If you don't have the 1/8 inch tape, you could also use a liquid glue or a glue stick, or you could carefully put 1/4 inch tape on, but it might overhang a little bit. You just have to clean it up off the edges. And again, I'm going to line it up at the top next to that folded edge. I'm going to put it down right next to the striped paper. We are looking at the, I put the adhesive on the lighter side, so the darker side is what's showing. We can color the balloon next so that all the other pieces go on with foam tape, and that way we're just putting them all on at the same time. So the tri-blend marker I use on this balloon is the green turquoise blend, and I used the lightest color. And I'm just coloring in the balloon portion of it. And on these, I didn't really worry about shading. They're kind of just bold, simple prints. So I am going over it a second time. So I am blending out those strokes that I left the first time I colored it. Oops, I forgot the little dangly thing at the bottom of the balloon. Okay, and then we're going to cut it out. And when I cut things out, I like to leave about a 1/16 to an 1/8 inch white border around the black line of the stamping. And when I stamp images like this one that are going to be colored in with my alcohol markers, I use my intense black ink pad, because that ink, you have to let it dry. But once it's dry, it will not run. It will not bleed when you color next to it or over it with the alcohol markers. And of course, since I stamped these several weeks ago, they are certainly dry by now. Now, you may find the balloon string a little difficult to cut out. because it is so skinny. But if you need a little extra space, just take a little extra, leave a little extra white on. At the bottom, however, I'm going to cut it right at the bottom of the string, the stamped string. I'm not leaving any white space at the bottom because if you could see when we put our card together, I'm going to extend that string to the panda's hand. So I want it to look like it's just one smooth line. That's all you got to do. And now we can put on phone tape onto all of our pieces. So I am going to cut a very skinny piece to put behind the string portion. I'm not going to put it all the way at the bottom because it is going to overlap that circle. But I'm going to put a couple of pieces a little higher up on that string just to give it some support. I know it can be a challenge to cut those skinny pieces. Oops. I stamped both sides of my sentiment piece there because the first one I didn't stamp so well, so I turned it over and stamped on the other side. All right, so I'm just going to lean over my garbage to take the backing pieces off of my foam tape. And when I put my panda down, I am going to put him a little bit tilted to the left. Not a whole lot, just a little bit. And then I'm going to put my balloon down. And when I put it down, I want to make sure that that string is in line with the panda's hand. So when I draw it, it looks like it's making sense and not too much out of line. And I'm going to put my sentiment down, and then I'm going to draw my string. And I'm going to put this up in the top left. It's about a 1/2 inch in from the left edge and about 5/8 of an inch down from the top edge. So I'm just using a black Sharpie. You can use anything. And what you want to do is just put your tip right at the end of the line. Don't leave it sitting there because you don't want it to bleed. And just extend that line. Give it a little bit of a curve because you can see that the string curves. Just a gentle wave. And just lead it down to his hands. And that's to give him a longer string so the balloon can be a little farther up. I am going to just take a dot. The end of my balloon string, the stamped one that I cut off, is kind of hovering above the cardstock. So I'm just going to put okay. That's not working so well, so I'm just going to use my glue pen. There we go. I'm just going to put a little bit of glue underneath it and hold it back down so that end sticks a little bit. And that's that one. Okay, so our next card is this one. This one, your cardstock is definitely already folded for you because I had to fold it to get the stamp in the correct position. Now, if you didn't like that sentiment, you could reverse the card and you could put the cardstock, the pattern paper up top covering it, and then you could stamp your own sentiment down here or leave it without a sentiment if you prefer. So got a couple extra pandas there. So this time we're going to use the star side of the paper. So we'll put the adhesive on the stripes. And again, I am putting it down first on against the fold and lining it up with the bottom edge. And this one is a little longer than my card. So I'm going to flip it over because I can see the overhang better from the back. So I'm just going to turn it over and trim that. All right, now this narrow piece of striped paper, it is a little wider than 1/4 of an inch. I think I cut it at 3/8, so I can go ahead and use my 1/4 inch tape runner on that to for my adhesive, and I'm going to put it above the other paper and leave about 3/16 of an inch, a little less than 1/4 of an inch. And again, I'm starting at the folded line and trying to keep it keep it straight so it has equal distance along. If you have trouble lining things up like that, you could always draw a line with the ruler and on your cardstock first, and then line up the edge of the paper with that drawn line. Just use a faint pencil line as long as you put it right up or slightly overlapping that pencil line, no one will see it, so it'll be fine. Okay, so now we're going to put adhesive on the back of our Panda and put him on the honey butter cardstock. It is on the darker side. I know this is one of the colors that's harder to determine between the light and the dark. And then we're going to put our foam adhesive on the back of that. I usually, like for a piece like this, I usually put a little square in each corner and one in the center. If it gets bigger than that, then I'll have to add a couple extra pieces. But I find that that's enough. I know some people like to put a ton of the foam tape on, but I find that that is sufficient for me. Okay, so we are going to put this on the card. We're about a 1/2 inch from the right side and about 3/8 of an inch from the bottom. And that's all we need to do to that one. Yeah, they are so cute. The only thing wrong with the stamp set, it didn't have the thin cuts, but luckily they're pretty easy to, cut out. Ooh, I got some extra pieces in here. All right, so the next card is a Thinking of You. It is on sage cardstock. And we are going to use the lighter side on this one. So with the lighter side facing you, score at 5.5 inches. I'm running out of room on my work surface, as usual. So just gonna fold and burnish. So we're gonna put a couple layers here. You could do this 2 ways. You can put the bottom one onto the card and layer it up, or you can create a, put the 3 pieces together and then put it on the card. Doesn't matter. But we are going to use the lighter side of both of the solid color cardstocks. Actually, it's all 3 because the card base is the lighter side too. This is mulberry. You're going to put it about 1/4 inch from the left edge. I'm just turning it so I can see it better, as usual. I'm putting it up. I'm lining up the top edge with the folded edge of the card, going all the way down, and it's the right length. So we're good there. So then we've got mist. Again, we're using the lighter side. So I'm putting adhesive on the darker side. I'm going to, again, turn my card. I'm going to line up. I'm going to center it on the mulberry strip, line up the top edge, the top edges of the strips with the fold of the card, center it, and put it down. And lastly, I have the stripes. So the adhesive goes on the star side. And again, center it on the strip of cardstock. Line up the top edge with the top edge. And make sure it's centered all the way down. Now this piece is a little bit long, so again, I am going to turn it over. See there where that overhang is. Trim it, and we're good. It was such a slight overhang, it probably didn't need to be trimmed, but. Okay, so now we've got our little dreaming panda, our thinking of you sentiment, and our little cupcakes. And I am missing a cupcake. We should have 2. I know I made 2 for everybody. It's probably just lost in my stack here. Uh-oh. Maybe I dropped it. Oh, yeah. Oh. Okay, here we go. Now I got 2 cupcakes. Okay, so I made my cupcakes chocolate. You can make them any flavor you want. So I used the earth brown and I used the darkest color, and I used that for the first dome, which should be the cake, I think. I mean, to me, it looked like the cake was coming up over the paper. So that's how I illustrated mine, like that. Okay, so then I used light yellow the light yellow blend, the light tip to color my cupcake papers. Okay. And then I did a layer of lavender icing. And again, I used the light tip. Now, if you wanted to, you could color your 2 cupcakes differently. All right, and then I used ice blue. And again, the white tip for the top dome of icing. And the cherry is, it's solid, it's stamped in black, but I did just put a little dot of color over it. And I don't know if you can really see it, but in person you can see that it's a little bit red. So I used the dark red blend and I used the medium tip. And I just colored over that cherry and then and made it a little bigger so you could see that red kind of halo around it. Let's see if the camera will focus and pick up that color. I don't know. To me, it still looks pretty dark, but in person, I can see it. So we're going to go ahead and put foam tape on all 4 of these circles. You can see I had some issues stamping that one too. Keep looking for my foam tape that way, but I put it that way. Okay, so now I'm trying to cut a square that'll fit inside that circle. These are 3/4 inch circles. The Panda's on a 2-inch and the Sentiment is on a 1.5. And you could do these with punches, or we do have a set of thin cuts that are circles in various sizes. Also, of course, you could do it on the Cricut. That would get you a lot of circles quickly. Okay. All right, so I'm going to start with the Panda. And I'm going to put the Panda so it's about 1/4 inch from the bottom of the card and about 1/8 inch from the right edge of the mulberry strip. That's the bottom layer of our strips here. I'm going to put our Sentiment on next. And I'm going to put that about 1/8 inch from the top of the card and 1/8 inch from the right edge. So it's way up in the top corner there. Now I can put my cupcakes on so they're spaced well between those two. So this one I'm going to put very close to the strip and about an 1/8 inch from the Panda here. And then I'm going to space this other one between the two circles. So it kind of looks like he's dreaming of cupcakes. Okay. So our next one is this one here. Or hello. We're going to use honey butter cardstock. And we're using the darker side. And we score at 5.5 inches. Oh, going horizontal here. All right, so we're going to put our stripes on first. And when we attach this to the card, we're going to put it towards the right edge. And we're going to leave our 1/8 inch border around the top, the right, and the bottom. we're going to put our hello. This hello, actually, in the thinking of you, I actually got the sentiments for this workshop from, I should have said that, told you before. Okay, so the thinking of you, sweet friend, celebrate every moment, and the high all come from last month, July's stamp of the month, the bee's knees. It's no longer available, but I do have this one set that is just slightly used that I'd be willing to sell you if you needed one. And then this hello and the thinking of you comes from this month's stamp of the month set. The goodbye isn't forever. And if you, this one is this month, so it is currently available. And if you buy either of the sets, you also get a kit for a free workshop. Even if you buy the used one, I would give that to you. All right, so we're putting our hello on, and I almost didn't. Again, I want to start line up the edge with the folded edge of the card. You're going to put it about 3/8 of an inch, more, about a 1/2 inch up from the bottom of the card. And then our little panda here is holding flowers. Now, in the stamp set, the panda is not holding anything. The flowers is a separate stamp. So there's lots of things like the present or the envelope or the flowers or the flag. There's lots of things for the pandas to hold in this set. So you can mix and match and do whatever you want. But I'm going to color my flowers in with the lavender marker, the light tip. You can make whatever color flowers you want. This paper is so colorful, it allows you to use almost any color. And then we're just going to attach it to our sage panel. And we are going to use the darker side of that. And this is just going to get centered on this panel. Wow, that colored cardstock really blends into my cutting mat. And then we're going to put our foam tape on the back of that. So anyway, I got the two sentiments from those different stamp sets. So when you're looking, we have stamp sets that are just sentiments, but make sure you look when you're looking for sentiments. Often the stamp sets have different ones you can use beyond the set it comes with. Okay, so we're going to put him about 1/4 inch up from the bottom of the hello strip and about 3/4 of an inch from the left side of the card. He's actually pretty much centered top to bottom on the card, if that's easier for you to visualize. And this strip was the mist. I used the darker side, which you didn't need to know because it was already stamped for you, but in case you were wondering. Okay, so the next one is another yellow, the same cardstock, Honey Butter. Ran out of coordinating colors with the cardstock, so this is the only one that's a duplicate. But again, we're going to use the darker side and score at 5.5 inches. Oops. Okay, so this one you can see that I cut, the other one would put a circle on the card. This one I cut the circle out of the cardstock. It's a 2-inch circle. And then I stamped, again, that greeting from the Stamp of the Month set. This one, this month. Goodbye is not forever. And then the stars are from the Panda set. So we're going to cut out this little panda so it looks like he's peeking through the circle. You don't have to worry about the bottom, but I'm going to cut it out as if we will see it, simply because, you know, if you don't know exactly where he's going to be placed in your circle, you want the flexibility. And it's not that hard to cut out a little extra. I'm just leaving that thin white border around him. Okay, so now we have our little panda. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn my white cardstock over, and I'm going to put in just some adhesive right here in on the front. It's the bottom right. When you turned over, it's the bottom left. So when you're looking at it from behind, it's about the 7 o'clock position on the clock. I'm just putting a couple of strips of adhesive there. So when I turn this over and I stick my panda in, I can decide where I want him. And it'll stick. He'll stick to the back there. And so I have it so that his left hand isn't showing. And he's on tilt. But it doesn't matter. You can place it wherever you want. Now it's one piece. So when I turn it over, I can go ahead and put my foam tape on. And he's already in place. And on this piece, it's a big piece, so I'm going to put a lot more foam tape on. I like to put some around the edges and then also in the center so he doesn't collapse. And then, of course, I am going to put foam tape on the back of our little friend here. All right. Now I got to take all the back pieces off. Okay, and now when you put him on your card, you're just going to center him. So he has that 1/8 inch border all the way around. And there you go. Now you have a peeking panda. And then on our strip, I'm just not going to put it at the very ends, the adhesive on the very ends, which is usually the case anyway, without even trying, because it is the width of our card, but you can see it's not attached on the two sides since our white cardstock is raised up, and this is getting attached to our white cardstock. And you're going to center it between the bottom of the circle and the bottom of the white cardstock, and just attach that down there. Okay, our next card is on scarlet cardstock. Might make a good Valentine. Okay, so this one is similar in that we cut a hole in the pattern paper. It's pattern paper instead of white cardstock. And our panda is going to be in the center of the hole. So we are, like I said, using scarlet cardstock. And I'll score it 5.5 inches on the darker side. Oh, what I didn't mention about this one is that when you cut that circle out, punch it or die cut it out, that circle can then be used on this card for this panda. And of course, this circle can be used. I didn't end up using that circle, but it could be used on another card. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and set that aside for now, and I'm going to color my panda's heart. And I'm going to use the dark red marker again, but I'm going to use the medium tip, and I'm just coloring in the heart. Just looking for my glasses. I'm just outlining the area. Just making sure that the ink kind of blends together to cover those stroke marks, and it does, which is the magic of the alcohol markers, of course. And then we're going to cut out the panda and the heart. I'm just going to cut the heart out first. This heart is part of the Panda stamp set. I just stamped him in the red ink so that no coloring was necessary. And the Thinking of You is from the August Stamp of the Month set. Okay, and then I'm going to cut our panda out. I just don't want to cut the heart in case the ink needs a second to dry. I mean, the alcohol inks dry pretty quick, but yesterday, I'm losing track of the days. I think it was yesterday. It was the birthday of Zhao, the panda cub in Washington, D.C. He's 3 years old already. Of course, that means he's going to be going back to China soon. Okay, so now we are going, the Thinking of You is going to have just regular adhesive on it, so let's go ahead and put that down first. And this is going to go on our strip of scarlet here, and it's going to go on the left side, and just kind of center it top to bottom with the same spacing on the left. And we have those hearts stamped there. Those little hearts are also from the stamp set. Okay, so the panda, the heart, and this pattern paper. Well, actually, let's go ahead and attach this first. Now, this one we didn't attach till the cardstock was, or this panel was to the cardstock, because it's the same width of the card. This strip is the same width as our pattern paper, so we can go ahead and attach that first. And you're going to go about a ½ inch down from the top of the paper. and attach that flat on there. All right, and now we can add, put foam tape on the back of our panda, our heart, and this pattern paper panel. So again, we're going to need a whole bunch of pieces of the foam tape like we did on the last one, because we've got this big piece to raise up. And this one, the panda is free floating in the center of the circle. So we didn't need to attach it ahead of time like we did on the last card. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to put down is the big panel. It is going to get centered onto the card so that it has the 1/8 inch border around all four sides. Okay. There you go. And then I'm going to put the panda right in the center of that circle. And then I'm going to put the heart up here. It's halfway on the red stripe, kind of between where those heart clusters are stamped. All right, we've only got one card left. Told you that these were pretty easy. It's nice to make easy ones once in a while, right? Of course, if you had to stamp them all, it would take you a little while longer, but stamp and cut the paper. Okay, so again, this guy's got a circle, but he's a little, just slightly bigger than the circle, but that's okay. And then he's got this flag, and again, see the stamp, it's just him, and then you can choose what he's holding. So I stamped the flag, so we've got 2 pieces to cut out on this one. Panda doesn't need any coloring. The flag we're going to just color with the light yellow marker and using the light tip. I'm coloring the whole flag here with the light yellow, but then I'm going to take the medium tip and color this section, this middle section here, because that kind of looks where the flag is folded and it gives it a little bit of a shadow. And then if you want, you've got this little circle at the top of the the stick that the flag is, the flagpole, I guess. So I'm just taking my brown and with the light tip and coloring that in. All right, and now we can cut out both our flag and our panda. So again, we're going to have a skinny section here like we did on the balloon. So just be careful. Can you hear the geese making noise in the background? And again, I'm going to cut this right at the bottom of the stamped pole. And then I'm going to cut out my panda. Okay. All right, so our high, which came off of that July stamp of the month set, the bees, we're going to put double-sided adhesive on that. We're going to put it in the top, whoops, let me bring this down a little bit, top left corner of the pattern paper, and about 1/4 of an inch from the top and 1/4 of an inch from the left. Next, we're going to put, my strip, I don't know, I think this one's a little fat. There was supposed, see how there's supposed to be a border of the mist to the gray blue behind the stripes. Mine has one, but it's very, very tiny. So I'm going to go ahead and carefully trim my pattern paper of my strip of stripes and make it a little narrower. And making it just a little bit wider than 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to use my rotary cutter, but you could use a craft knife as well. And I apologize if you have to trim yours. You don't have to if you don't want to, but and then yeah, that's a little better. I am going to use, now that it's skinnier, I am going to use it is wider than 1/4 of an inch, so I could use my 1/4 inch adhesive on it, but I am going to use my 1/8 inch just because then I don't have to worry about driving my tape gun in a straight line, which is sometimes easier than others. And I'm going to put that edge to edge, left to right, but center top to bottom on my mist strip, and I am putting it on the lighter side of that cardstock. All right, and now I'm going to put my adhesive on the back of that, and I'm going to put it on my pattern paper, and again I'm going to put it centered between the bottom of the circle and the bottom of the paper. Now I never scored my card here, so we're using the darker side and scoring it 5.5 inches. And now I'm going to put foam tape on the back of that pattern paper, on the back of my flag, and the back of my panda. You know, I had one more super skinny piece of foam tape and it stuck to my shirt, so I tossed it away, but I really could have used it now. Again, I'm not going to put it at the very bottom of the flagpole because that's going to overlap his hand, but it's only going to overlap it a little, not quite as much as it did on the balloon. I'm also going to make another skinny piece, though not as skinny, to put on each of his legs here. You can see I just cut some smaller pieces on that panda just to make sure. Don't really need that big of a piece there, but it's what's left. He's going to be really secure. All right. Okay, we used a lot of foam tape tonight. Okay, so again, this panel gets centered to the card, 1/8 inch border all the way around. Next, I'm going to put on the panda. And his foot, just the edge of his foot, his front foot, and the tip of his ears are kind of overlapping the edge of the circle. Whoops. Almost dropped my flag, but luckily the adhesive stuck to my finger. Okay, so now I'm just going to, oh, you know what? I made a mistake on this. You do not need adhesive or the foam tape on the flag, except if you wanted to put that little bit on the flagpole. Probably not entirely necessary, but could be a little helpful. You actually need double-sided adhesive. Sorry about that. I wasn't paying attention, because you were going to stick him, so the flagpole sticking to his hand, but the actual banner part of the flag is on top of the pattern paper, and it gets stuck down flat. And you could, if you want, put that little bit of adhesive down there, or the foam tape, is what I'm trying to say. So that so there's a little support, but like I said, probably not totally necessary if you didn't want to fight with that little piece. And that's him. And we are all done. That's probably the fastest for any class that has that many cards. So, like I said, the cutting and the stamping, of course, take a little extra time, but you can still get them done pretty quick if you'd like to make some more. The Panda stamp set is still available, and as is the August stamp of the month. And then, like I said, I do have that one set slightly used of the bee's knees from July. Let me just give you a peek of, if you wanted, you could add some bling to these. I don't think it needs it, which is why I didn't, but you could, of course. You could always add bling. Okay. And then this is the next class on September 5th. I know it's the day after Labor Day, but some people are available. So these are the autumn leaves cards. And of course, you know, as always, my recordings stay up. So if you can't join us live, you can see we're going to do some ink blending on these. You are. And if you sign up for the class, I'll let you know what color inks you need. You could also, if you'd rather, you could actually color the leaves in if you wanted to. So I'll hang on for just a minute in case anybody has any questions. If you could give me a thumbs up, that would be great. Again, the pattern paper we used in this one is Storybook, and there are some products still available. So you could check those out on the website. Oh, I can show you. If you do buy the August stamp of the month, you get a free kit to make these 3 cards. Again, some ink blending and some coloring. I colored with colored pencils, but you could always use watercolors or markers as well. Well, I'm glad you guys like these cards so much. I love them. I love the pandas. And I will see you again soon. Have a good night.